So let's get into this week in the hobby, guys. The Industry Summit just happened over in Las Vegas, is why we were there. And really wasn't anything big coming out of the Industry Summit. Over the last couple of years, there really hasn't been. I think everybody thought the Panini news was going to happen. There was nobody on the list for Panini to be there. They wound up showing up. They weren't on the list. There was no Panini presentation. So, the whole rumors were kind of swirling around that the announcement was going to be made, and it didn't. So, Fanatics is kind of like, and Fanatics has had a great presentation, but we all, I think that was when the room was packed, was on Monday morning, Fanatics panel at 10:30.
Oh, yeah.
And we sit there, and we all got duped. It's like BBCE was in the room. We all got duped because it was just talking about Fanatics Authentics, which was a great presentation. I'm not taking anything away from that. But I think we were all there. You had popcorn in hand, waiting for it to happen, and it didn't. They just talked about their memorabilia program. I mean, I kind of had insider information once I seen who was sitting on the stage. It was our sales rep for the Authentic side, so I'm like, we're going to be talking about authentic memorabilia. Which actually kind of gets lost in what the whole Fanatics does. Is like, you can see Leaf jerseys, and you can see these other jerseys. Like, this stuff is legit. It is
100%.
And they talked about all the game use jerseys. I think they just acquired some of the Aaron Judge gloves, from some of these home runs. They are really actively getting more game use stuff, more unique memorabilia pieces, and it was a great presentation there. But as far as any kind of rumors or gossip of anything happening, it did not happen. I would have just assumed that maybe come first of the year it's something that's revisited and maybe the news comes out then. I know there's been some images floating around of some blog posts that are Panini products, but they're on Fanatics blogs. Seen that, so maybe it's just some development stuff that's going on. So, but I think when businesses are bought, you probably want to start off on a Q1 rather than a end of the year Q4. Plus, you guys have been in this industry or been buying cards for a long period of time. We all know that December is there's 79 products coming out now. There's one for each day.
Yep.
So they probably clean off the books, get some time. And we'll see what happens around January, I'm thinking.
And I think, we kind of talked about it before we went on, but I think there's, for lack of a better term, this almost like blood in the water a little bit where everyone went there thinking, okay, here comes the big reveal. We all kind of know what's about to happen. We all can sense it. We all can feel it. So I think in a way, it's in their best interest to be like, you know what? If we announce this, then we're just gonna be hounded with questions. It's just gonna be stress, and that maybe we need to. We hold all of the chips here, where we can play it out exactly how we want to do it, and let it go that way rather than kind of drop a bomb there at that industry conference where everybody is waiting for it. Everybody's going to be asking questions. People might be worried, what's the future? What's my future? What's going to happen? And maybe, let it play out outside of that. So
right.
It's less, it feels less chaotic, I guess.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I actually thought they were going to do that so they could get in front of it, but maybe you're right. Maybe the overwhelming amount of questions, or am I going to get product? How does this change my product perspective now? Maybe it's not something they wanted to be in person doing. And, I think a lot of the people that are on the card side really weren't at the actual summit. So it was more of let's talk about our authentics and stuff like that. And, Topps has its own conference. So that's why you didn't really see any Topps news coming out of there. It's typically been a Panini, Beckett, Onyx kind of Leaf kind of industry summit. And, there was no Panini this year. So there really wasn't a lot of good things. I mean, newsworthy things. There was a lot of good things, for shops, learning stuff on how to not get burglarized. There was presentations on that. There was a really good presentation with James Beckett and Adam Martin from Dave and Adams and Rob Veras of Burbank. They're talking about decades of influence. That was a good one. And it was more stuff like that. So it was kind of cool to see that stuff, but nothing really newsworthy. World Cup, that's newsworthy. We got Mosaic World Cup, Road to the World Cup, that dropped today. And I think this is the calm before the storm. We've got World Cup coming up in about, 90 days? A little bit less? This is November. Maybe less than that. Maybe
less than that.
40, 50 days?
Yeah, it starts in November, I believe, right before. I want to say right before or after Thanksgiving. I'll have to double-check that.
And I think this is going to be one for the ages for the card market. For one, you've got – the last time we had it was in 18, and it was kind of just the pickup of the World Cup. You got a lot of guys that this is probably their last World Cup. Ronaldo, he's like 38. He's probably not going to be playing when he's 42. You got Messi, same deal. You've got Gareth Bale. You've got these guys. Neymar's probably going to play another one, but it's a lot of talent. Kylian Mbappe. I mean, it's not going to be his last one, but he's playing in it. His name's huge in the hobby. You've got a lot of guys on Japan that have really made a name for themselves. South Korea has a few big names that are in this hobby as well. You got Kevin De Bruyne as well, and I'm probably showing my lack of soccer knowledge, but I'm knee deep in getting ready for this World Cup because it's unlike anything. It's like I went to the Mexico-Colombia game and it was insane. So I look forward to the World Cup every year, and I think you're going to see a lot of bump in some of these products and some of these players' cards, depending on how their performance is. If they move to the round of 16, go even farther. You got the Golden Boot winner, so it's going to be nuts. So, and Mosaic, is that the proper way to kind of kick it off?
I think so.
You got Prism.
I kind of feel like at this point, for any of the sports, actually, I almost want to see Mosaic first. So, like, I think for soccer-wise, this is going to be perfect. Like I said, for baseball, basketball, and football, I would prefer these would come out before, like, the selects and prisms and optics, because I feel like those hold a little bit higher standard. But, yeah, this should be a fun product. Like you said, there's going to be a good mix of, like, guys that are probably going to be in their last World Cup and a lot of young new guys that are going to be there for a long time. So,
yep,
it's the best time. If you're a soccer collector, it is the best time to finally, like, those guys you maybe have been collecting for years, for time for it to pay off, because like there's so many eyes on obviously not even soccer, but just the soccer collector community and the cards that it's pretty much the best time.
Yeah, and I would look at these other releases because that's one thing about soccer. If you don't collect soccer, there's a bunch of different sets. There's Topps has got Bundesliga, and there's a lot of crossover because these guys play in different leagues. So, or like Heung-min So, his cards have been really hot, like Obsidian and some of the other sets, and he's playing for Korea and probably the biggest name on Korea. So it's like maybe you could find him kind of cheap now in one of these sets. Has a big game. Soccer's an international market. It's huge. A lot of eyeballs on it. I mean, Ronaldo has how many Instagram followers in comparison to Kim Kardashian?
About, I think he's at 300, 400 million overall. Yeah, this is where you have to, like.
Kim Kardashian is like, what, 16 million?
Something like that. Yeah.
I will say this as well. Like, we only get to experience the World Cup every 4 years, right? So as far as the hobby goes, we've seen it every single time be a really big deal. But this is the first World Cup coming off of our hottest period in the hobby, right? The hobby as a whole right now is down some. But like I said, this is actually the first World Cup that we're getting after this explosion that we've had in the hobby. Because we didn't get that. Like, the last World Cup happened right before all of this kicked off, right? So,
yeah, I mean, look at 14 Prism World Cup. It's insane. The boxes are insane. The singles are insane. So we're going to have a Prism this year. We're going to have National Treasures. They haven't announced Flawless, I don't think, but I'm sure that's coming. You may get some Eminence, and hopefully this stuff starts to kind of come out around the World Cup, not after. I know sometimes we have it after, but I think it's going to be a huge kind of, you got basketball starting around the same time too, so I think you're going to see maybe not where we were, but I think we're going to have a bump in the hobby with this. I think
November and December is going to be very similar to what we've it's going to be a very hot period because we're going to get a bunch, like you said, the end of the year, December is already going to be insane because they're trying to drop as many products as they can. Mm-hmm. But on top of the basketball starting up, the World Cup being the exact same time as basketball starting, and we're going to get all of these products that people are actually looking forward to. It's going to be a crazy last couple months to end the year.
And one thing to mention, too, is actually the crazy release calendar for baseball in December.
Yeah.
You've got Bowman's Best. You got Bowman Draft. You got Triple Threads. You've got Dynasty. You've got literally everything coming out in December and a lot of staple releases. So keep your eye on some of these products.
Which is not normal for December for baseball.
No.
Normally in December, we're only getting literally Bowman Draft.
Yep.
That's the only thing to look forward to.
Maybe really Bowman's Best sometimes.
Bowman's Best usually comes out like either the end of the year or like right that first week of the next year. But I'm very curious especially if you're a soccer collector, or you're on the cusp of like thinking about collecting soccer. This is going to be the best time to get into it, because it's just after it's done, like you again, we're not going to have another World Cup for 4 years,
right?
So
right. Yeah, and I'm already seeing like boxes selling on the website, so they're already starting to trend up and there's a lot of releases out there. One thing about the soccer market, I think they got oversaturated was because we were, soccer was hot when there was 4 releases a year. I mean, I think now we have like 75 releases a year. So there's a lot of sets that kind of get overlooked that may have like a Jude Bellingham rookie that maybe is kind of went down a little bit where you can get him. He's playing on England, right? So that's a guy to kind of look out for. Jude Bellingham, recently a rookie, and pick up some of his cards and see what happens.
Yeah, there's also and also just looking at the calendar, the fact that November 2nd right now is the announced release date as of right now for Prism World Cup soccer.
Yeah.
I mean, that could not be better timing. I do wonder, like, how obviously there will be a soccer dip after the World Cup, just because it's the interest even around the world peaks right at that time. But what is like the best case scenario for it in the hobby to maintain its relevance, or at least maintain more relevance than it usually has? Is it really kind of like depends on, like, it has to be like France wins and Mbappe has a huge tournament, something like that, right?
Yeah, and I think it's maybe all the people's breakers and whoever's selling this product to really reach out and bring in collectors of soccer, because I'm sure there's a lot of diehards out there that don't collect cards, that don't understand it, maybe haven't been privy to it. I know for smaller breakers it's hard to ship international, and it does cost a lot, but if you price that into your breaks and stuff and do soccer and figure out a way to break it and get these names in the hobby, that could carry it a little bit further. But yes, obviously player performance, Kylian Mbappe, I think, is it better to, maybe this is a discussion we can have, is it better for the younger guys to have a bigger success? Because getting a Ronaldo rookie or getting a Messi rookie is almost unobtainable.
Yeah, I would think so. That just, it would be a great story for, especially like Messi, who has really never had much international success. Ronaldo, I mean, the Portugal won the Euro. I think he got hurt in that tournament though, but about midway through. But yeah, that would be a great story there. But yeah, they're gonna need like these younger dudes to really succeed. And I also do wonder, like, because I think always the allure in the hobby for soccer is like, well, it's the biggest sport in the world. Like, there's secondary. If you're talking about selling card on a secondary market, you're not just limited to USA, Canada. You're talking Europe, Asia, Africa, everywhere. They all want those cards. But there is still, it feels like internationally, like the stickers still feel like they're king. So I do wonder, like, where in terms of the hobby, in a way, it almost feels like the best thing to have it will be a deep run for the USA, because I think for a lot of these cards, I think a lot of the consumers are North American based.
Well, yeah, then it would be Pulisic, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and they're in the group with England, Wales, and Iran. So, I mean,
they should make it out of the
they
first
could squeak it out with England. I mean, Wales is going to be a tough opponent with Gareth Bale's on the team too. But there's like, you look at these groups, and that's what I did, is kind of plan out like, okay, who's going to make it into 16? Who's going to make it, who's going, and I'm actually kind of curious to see if there's any odds. Is there an odds-on favorite?
There's got to be.
There's got to be, right? There's already got to be some bets. So I'm curious to see who's going to be the favorite. But you got like young players like Joshua Kimmich from Germany. And another thing to look at when you're looking at some of these players is like what club team they play for, right? So if they're like playing for PSG, if they're playing,
a big club team.
They're playing for a big club team. And you look at some of these teams like, and the reason they're there is because it's in Qatar, but you look at their roster, they have no club level players, right? So you kind of say they're probably going to be out in the first round. They're in the Netherlands, Senegal, Ecuador group. So they may be able to squeak in there, but obviously Netherlands is probably going through. Yeah, go Ecuador. They don't have a really big name either. They have Jeremy Sarmiento. But, England's got Harry Kane. It's probably going to be his last World Cup. You got Mason Mount, Jude Bellingham. You've got Leo Messi, Group C, that's going to be with Poland, Mexico, and Saudi Arabia. Mexico's going to have a hard-fought battle getting through Poland and Argentina, so that's going to be tough. France is in a division with Australia, Denmark, and Tunisia, so France will probably move on, I would say. But, soccer's soccer. So.
And World Cup, yeah, it's always tough with these international tournaments where it's just where 1-2 loss and then you're out of it, or 1 loss you're out of it. By the way, the favorites, Brazil is the favorite at plus 400.
Wow.
France at plus 600. England at plus 700, as well as Argentina and Spain at plus 800. Those 5 are your favorites, with Germany, Portugal, Netherlands just behind them. And just because we're an American show, so we got to say where the US of A is. Plus 10,000.
Jeez.
For the United States, right?
So you're saying there's a chance.
Just a little bit under Serbia at plus 8,000, and just above Poland at plus 12,500.
So you can kind of take those odds and start looking at some players. And I mentioned Joshua Kimmich from Germany. That might be a guy. It's not going to be quite as expensive as Ronaldo, not as expensive as Messi, and might be a guy that you might want to collect and see how he does. And I mean, those first 4 or 5 teams got to make it to the second round. I mean, it would take a disaster.
It would be a huge upset if any of those teams were out.
So I wanted to get C-Rad. Did you see we're switching sports before we get into the Shyne, Jasson Dominguez ESPN article. Did you see footage on Zion yesterday?
I did not see the Zion footage. No, I have not.
Well, have you at least seen how he looks?
I seen the interviews, right, that they did, the team interviews and stuff over the last week with all the teams and stuff before the preseason started. So I've seen the upper body. The upper body looked like he looked pretty yak. So
his mid area looks smallest I've ever seen it.
Easily the best shape he has ever shown up preseason, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
But who do the Pelicans have?
They have a good team.
CJ McCollum.
Oh, that's right. They got McCollum last year.
They got the young guys from last year, Herbert Jones and Trey Murphy, that were coming on strong towards the end of the year. I think they got Jonas as their center, Jonas Valanciunas.
I mean, and they gave the Suns a run for their money last year. I know the Suns.
The Suns lost to the Mavs.
I know the Suns did not look good last year. But the fact of the matter is,
but the fact that the Pelicans that took them to took them pretty far, like that shows that the Pelicans are a nice young team, and without Zion. And you guys know on this show, I'm a big Zion fan. I've always liked Zion.
And you know what? People haven't – Zion is in terms of the card market, it's the most interesting thing. I mean, there is haters, but his price has kind of been a lot higher than anybody that's ever played that few games.
Like everybody else, but they've kind of maintained at a level you wouldn't think of somebody that hasn't really played.
I was trying to bid on like impeccable RPAs. They're like $9-10 grand still. I mean, that's a lot of money for – a guy that you're taking a chance on. So, we said this on the show before. It's like the hobby lore of them kind of still maintains.
Yeah.
If you have so much hype and you have so many people investing in you, it still kind of maintains that price level. And then some people even double down, right? They're like, oh, I bought an RPA for this price.
They're cost averaging now. They're buying them
cost
lower.
average it down, right?
Yep.
So, I mean, realistically, and we're not going to do a huge NBA segment here, but realistically, where do you think the Pelicans can finish in the West?
With Zion 100% healthy, they're going to be in that. I want to say they're going to be in that 5 to 6 range.
What do you think?
Wow, 5 to 6. I think they're in that easily a play-in team. I think that's no question.
It's not hard to get into the play-in games anymore.
It's not. I mean, they were last year, so easily in that. I would say in the higher range of that. I think they're in the 6 to 8 range right now, 6 to 8 seed.
Okay, that might be fair.
And I know you guys mentioned Brandon Ingram, but my concerns with him and Zion is that Brandon Ingram is like a hero ball player. You know what I mean? Like I maybe I haven't watched a whole lot of Pelicans games, and correct me if I'm wrong. He definitely improved, and he's been improving. But I see a lot of like post up. I'm not going to pass it. I'm going to take it in myself. And you need to feed Zion, right? You need to get Zion, and maybe they figure out a way to. Brandon Ingram takes the 2 defenders, and then Zion's open. I don't know.
I know they were
call him. You can kick it out too.
I know they were experimenting before the last time Zion went down. They were experimenting with him playing the point forward, which is kind of interesting, right? Like have him bring up the ball. But yeah, you're right. Ingram does he is an ISO player, but he's somebody like you said, much improved. And he's somebody if you think about it now, all those guys that the Lakers gave up, the Lakers could really use a guy like Brandon Ingram. Yeah. Not to crap on the Lakers again, but
yeah, Tyga's a really good player. I mean, after he left the Lakers and he went to the Pelicans, Tyga, he's really good.
I heard D'Angelo Russell's back on the block, so you can always get him again.
They could get one more chance with D'Lo, the T-Wolves. I mean, the Lakers.
And I mean, and the addition of McCollum was actually pretty good because that guy's, he's got his own podcast. He's well respected.
He's kind of everything they needed, frankly.
Like a leader in that room.
Yeah.
So
I'll say the only thing that they're really, really missing is that true point guard. But like I said, if they experiment more with Zion bringing up the ball, maybe that's something there. Because if those games where he was starting, like not starting as a point guard, but like he was the point guard essentially, his numbers were exceptionally good. Like for like somebody you wouldn't think, because he doesn't normally play point guard, right? Like he was actually getting a decent amount of assists. Well,
what will he have to achieve? Is it okay if he just makes the playoff? That's good. Or do you think there's another level for the card to go up even higher?
I think he just needs to stay healthy because we've seen what he does when he's healthy.
Yeah.
If he's healthy for a full season, at the end of the year, this might be one of the hottest takes I've had on the show, but if he's healthy for an entire year and he does what he's supposed to do and what we've seen him do, he's easily top 10, if not top 5, 6 in the NBA. That might be a little crazy.
No,
but
that's not a hot take. I actually thought you were going to say he could be MVP. So you exceeded my expectations of what you're going to say. So no, I think that's easily doable. But I mean, how many times can we just see a crazy dunk and be like, oh? I mean, like, at what point does that wear off?
For somebody like Zion, that it always looks so incredible for his size and like just how much strength he goes to the basket with. It's always amazing me. It's always like asking the same question like about threes, but like we're always amazed when Curry makes a three, right?
Yeah, I'm never
like
gets old.
When has that ever gotten old?
So you know what we need from Zion, and it won't happen because they changed that with the Shaq era, is to break the rim.
Oh yeah,
to break the rim on like LeBron or something. Like just go up. The
Hell
whole
yeah.
rim comes down. They stop the game for a half an hour. We all go crazy.
And I mean, it's got to be him because this latest batch of like number one picks, top or guys we're all chasing in the hobby. I mean, Chet Holmgren. There's that new guy that everyone's going crazy about, who's also even taller and skinnier than Holmgren.
From France, right?
I wish I could tell you.
He'll be the
exact
first
name, but
French player to go first overall. I believe.
and people are already.
They're saying he's going first next year.
Yeah, there was his video went.
But he's
some
skinny
highlights
like
went
Chet.
viral.
Yeah.
Even skinnier and even taller than Chet.
Oh, that's scary.
Yeah.
Got some. I wouldn't put money on that one, guys.
But like that's it. Like those guys are not capable of breaking the glass. Zion's the last hope.
Hey, I'm I hope he stays healthy.
Who else could break the glass in the league? Maybe LeBron. I bet he's getting
LeBron's so
in
damn
his
strong.
prime.
Yeah, in his prime maybe.
Who else can break the rim right now?
Rudy Gobert?
No, come on,
too
dude.
small. Too small.
Rudy Gobert.
Well, tall, but not wide enough, I guess.
Yeah,
they're gone.
Somebody that dunks with strength, like honestly, Zion. And I know the comments are gonna kill us. There's probably way more guys that could dunk with that veracity, but.
I know, it's like Larry Johnson type, right?
I know who, but he's a little too small. Kenny Lofton Jr.
Oh yeah, there you go.
That's my guy.
Yeah,
love him.
Yeah, he's a big guy.
He's a big boy.
What was it? Big Baby back in the day?
Oh yeah, back in the day, Big Baby. He never dunked with ferocity though. Whereas Lofton, I could see him like he gets up there. I could see him really throwing it down.
What about Jalen? What about Jalen Green?
I think he's too small.
Too small.
Yeah, too small.
Yeah.
Too small.
All right. Well, we want to see the rim being broken this year.
Only one that's gonna do it is Zion.
Yep.
Yeah.
Zion's the last hope.
Well, what would be the best? Would it be LeBron to dunk on to break the rim on?
Oh
yeah.
Who would be the best person to do that?
You do that, and you make that into a card that is an instant. Like the one of that card is $1 million card.
Yeah.
Or what if he did it on like Ben Simmons, like the guys that like a guy that like people love to hate?
Even better.
Yeah, there's probably like a top 5, right? It'd probably be LeBron, then Ben Simmons.
In terms of
and I hate to say it,
guys,
probably Draymond.
Guys you love to hate: Draymond, Kyrie.
Yeah.
Then I'm trying to think of a fifth.
Simmons, Harden.
Yeah, that's the 5.
Yeah, what you need almost, it would be like the Ja Morant. Let me show you little Ja Morant, but little Zion, and then break the rim. It's just
I mean, Ja can dunk the ball too for being so small.
Yes.
Like Jesus Christ.
Best dunker in the game right now. I think right now is Ja.
And like, it's not even just like the strength either. It's like how high he can get up, dude. I was watching the top 10 blocks of the season last year, and there's one where he literally jumps up. You know those snatch blocks that like the big guys do? He did one of those, and he's like 6'2". He jumped up there. He grabbed the whole ball. This guy was like either trying to.
Who was this?
This is
Ja Morant. I remember that play.
God.
I remember that play.
Holy,
yeah, he's
you need to see
insanely.
that highlight,
he
dude.
plays a lot bigger than he looks. Before I know we're running long on this segment, I just want to play a game of hypothetical here. If you were investing in any of these guys in the card market, we're going to use Zion or LaMelo.
It's not even a question for me. It's Zion.
Wow,
it's easily Zion. Like, especially because last year, it took until like March or April of last year for him to be at the same level as Ja Morant after Ja Morant had a near MVP season. That's how much people believe in this guy, and I think when he's healthy, he is that. Well,
how about Zion? I mean, this is the same rookie year, which is insane. You should buy up 1920 if you can find it at a good price. Probably not. But Zion versus Ja, who are you investing in? Is it the hype, the unforeseen? We haven't seen Zion that's going to push him past Ja?
That is a very tough question because I love Ja a lot, and he's already proven to us he's one of the most exciting young players in the NBA and one of the best young players in the NBA. One of the best players in the NBA in general already. But God, Zion. God,
we just wiped away the injury history, didn't we?
Yeah, dude.
We just forgot about it. We forgot about we forgot about the Gatorade commercial of how he had the extra pounds.
It's kind of like what you talked to about like the hype. You know, the hype is really what it's all about because when he came in, like he had the biggest hype out of any rookie in the last 2 decades, since LeBron.
So then we can't even go into like Cade or any of that, right? There's not anybody.
Zion.
I mean, what
Zion,
Luka for you Luka lovers?
Well,
Luka,
Zion? I'll say this with Ja versus Zion because I've been on Team Ja for a while. If I could give Zion a magic elixir to make sure he never gets injured again, I'd probably go Zion. But because injuries are still a problem, and I've seen what we've seen with Ja, I'm going to go with Ja. And even if they're both healthy for their whole careers, there's not that much separating them. I think Ja is really, really good.
Is it even close with Trae Young and Zion? It's not even close to any guys, right?
Zion.
Jeez, but Luka,
Trae's
right?
proven more in my book. I might lean Trae and Luka.
I feel like
because Luka's a bigger hobby unicorn. Trae is probably the most underrated out of all the guys we just mentioned. He just doesn't sell for whatever reason.
Yeah,
I mean he sells, but not probably what he should.
Yeah, I'll say the thing about Zion and Luka is that they're still with how much Zion has gone down because of his injuries, and Luka has been able to play all these years and showcase himself and finally make it out the first round. Luka's already he's already a lot more expensive than Zion.
Yeah.
So there's more ceiling on the Zions, right? In terms of the card market, where if you buy into Luka, it's like I know that everything's down too. Luka's down as well, but you talking about Zion are still expensive. Luka's still very expensive to purchase.
Well, let's pivot into a guy that has all the cards that we've talked about.
He has both of those guys, one-on-ones probably.
I believe he has some of the best Zion RPAs that are on the market. He has a bunch of good exquisite Jordan cards. We're talking about Shyne. Made the front page of ESPN with his 1-of-1 Dominguez, which was a kind of a weird pivot by ESPN during this Aaron Judge talk. Was it? Cody, what do you think? It was like, oh, that's the next guy coming up. Like we've already moved past Aaron Judge.
I think it was more like, in a way, sort of to show people like, because it does mention in the article that the Judge Superfractor sold for $100,000 less than the Jasson Dominguez Superfractor. So I think it is almost a way to show people like, hey, while you're talking Judge, you're talking. The NFL season, all these guys that you think should be selling like this. The sports card world is its own little world outside of this, its own bubble outside of this. And I think part of it too was about speculation about the economy and the sports card market in general. As we're reaching this point of like, isn't this wild that as we're approaching the big R word recession, probably knock on wood, that this guy is spending $500,000 on a guy who is not a guarantee. So I think it's more just kind of like taking us behind the scenes of like, while you're all enjoying this guy is doing these guys and this guy are doing this. And I would say it doesn't cast it in a big it doesn't cast everyone in the same light. He is almost described as an outlier, as making this huge investment, and I think we all kind of thought that too. Because this was bought in February or March
this year.
Yeah, so it always felt like it was an outlier to begin with, and I think this kind of shows it, but also takes us behind the scenes of like, this is how crazy things have gotten. In case you haven't noticed.
And what were some of the key points to take away from this Pitbull article? I mean, Shyne, sorry.
That's Mr. Worldwide right
I
there.
know.
That's
Hey, that's
right.
a compliment.
That's
a
right.
compliment.
To me, just one, a lot of Ken Golden mentions. Ken Golden featured heavily in it. Guy's been in the news a little bit lately. We'll just put it that way. And that a lot of his cards are being sold on Golden. I didn't realize the 1/1 Herbert that sold for $1.8 million was a Shyne card. Look, we've talked about Shyne quite a bit on this show, and we've been like, who is this man? He's mysterious. We now know his real name. It's right there in print. It's Matt Allen. Definitely not as memorable as Shyne.
Cousin of Josh Allen.
Cousin of Josh.
I think it's
twice invested.
A-L-A-N.
Yes.
Oh,
yes,
never mind.
it is. It is.
The other Josh Allen on the Jaguars.
Look, and he does say he doesn't go into his background, as he says he got his money from previous private equity, and his quote was, "I don't want to go into that. Just gonna throw that out there. I'm not gonna make any rash accusations."
He's a really good roulette player.
Really good. It just kind of it's more just taking you behind the scenes of this and going also into Jasson Dominguez's season, which was a good season, but also something that popped out at me later on was they talked about like this is kind of the next Bryce Harper in a way. This is the only other guy that kind of compares for baseball fans. A guy who was 16 when he got onto the scene, was on the cover of Sports Illustrated, and has had a tremendous career since. And some insiders that I don't think they quoted who they didn't mention them by name, basically said Bryce Harper a disappointment in the hobby because he's not Mickey Mantle. Period.
I think he's having a pretty good career.
He's having a great career, but that's always been the fear with Jasson Dominguez, and that's always to me why it's this investing in guys like him this early for that much is just crazy to me. Because you literally have to have them be Mickey Mantle. You have to have them be, heck, not even Mickey Mantle. If they were Mickey Mantle, we would be like disappointment. 512 home runs, disappointment. You can't 500,000. That's a disappointing career. Frankly, you can't even throwing around he has to be Mickey Mantle. No, he has to be Hank Aaron. He has to be Babe Ruth. He has to be literally a someone we've never seen before.
Hey, well, that seems like a pretty good deal compared to $2 million for the 7th overall home run record.
Right, exactly.
62 home runs. Like you didn't make the top 5.
No, it's number 7.
I mean,
yeah, number 7 overall for Aaron Judge. Congratulations.
I mean, that's
62.
a lot. The $2 million. I mean, well, for one, the guy caught a $2 million.
We're talking about the
$2 million.
baseball. Yeah, we're talking.
Yeah,
about
I'm
baseball.
saying 500,000 actually seems like a pretty good deal. Besides somebody paying $2 million for the 7th place home run leader. It says 7, might be 8. I don't know, 9.
7th all time. 7th all time, and he's locked into that. He did not play on the season finale today as we're recording this. Aaron Judge, 62. Guy jumped to his, who knows? I don't know. All I could think about was that dude who thought the best strategy was, I'm just going to jump out of the stands and into this dark pit below. No. And hope for the best, and hope that the guy drops the ball, and then it's mine.
But that was pretty smart thinking because he's seen the trajectory of the ball probably wasn't heading his way.
I mean, smart if it's like
unless he broke his leg. I don't know.
Right? Is it like a 10-foot drop?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, you see the ball in the air, and then this guy drops down into where the bullpen is.
Immediately, without hesitation, he sees the ball go in the air and goes, wee!
That had to have been, but that had to have been
that was the plan.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was premeditated.
If it's not directly towards me, the plan is if it's not directly towards me, but it's close to me, jump.
Would have looked like the smartest man alive if it would have worked out, though, right?
Sure.
He went after his $2 million, man. You got to respect that.
Yeah, I mean, those two, the medical bills will be nothing compared to those $2 million.
I mean, he kind of put it all on a roulette number, right?
Yep.
There's a 1 in 36 chance of getting it, but maybe a little bit harder.
Which, by the way, kind of going back onto the Shyne stuff. Did you happen to also see? I think they mentioned he had the 1/1 Herbert. That was $1.8 million. The Joe Burrow. I believe a 1/1 Joe Burrow last week sold for $1.7 million as well. It was another shield. Yeah.
Herbert sold more for Burrow. Let's clear the air there.
Herbert
so there's
sold
obviously
for
a king of 2020.
Same NT flame flawless.
Yep. Same NT RPA.
Both NT
1/1 shield.
Somebody paid more for Sherbert.
Yes, which rightfully so.
By a 0.1 by 0.1 by what $100,000.
Yeah, I mean, wow, that's a lot of money. $100,000. Obviously, there's a guy that's better than the other guy. So, right, Cody?
You better believe it. Go Bolts.
Bolts up, baby.
Let's see them get to the Super Bowl at least, then we can talk, I guess.
But it's it's always interesting just to see like how the sort of mainstream sports world perceives and reacts to this sort of stuff, because when you kind of have to take a step back and you go, well, you paid $500,000 for a guy for a teenager, a teenager's baseball card. It sounds insane, and
it does, especially if you're not in this hobby. I mean,
right.
It's insane for people in the hobby.
Yes.
But it's pretty crazy. One more thing now I'm like locked into this whole $2 million catch.
It's crazy.
What would happen if like he caught it and somebody hit it out of his glove and then somebody else got it? Right? There's all these hypotheticals.
Well, we know that.
Remember
Remember Bonds' 73rd? The two guys had to go to court and they split the money in half, basically.
But what if like 3 or 4 guys touched it and it rolled around? You know what I mean? Like it was clean and it happened. And then I'm thinking, to add to this, how does the guy like does he walk around, make sure it's like, because he could have had a ball in his pocket too, right? He could have been like, whoop. I mean, I think they were probably all marked, I'm assuming, because it's a big day, right? They probably had a serial number on these ones.
That's why they had to instantly authenticate it, didn't
right, but how do you do that? You're like,
well, they're
also
all the balls, every ball that was thrown to Judge after 60, once he hit 59, every ball thrown to him were different. They had different serial numbers on them, so they knew that it was the ball.
I mean, he was going to have to show his ball the whole time, right? I mean, it's like, how do you, like, you go from getting into the parking lot? I mean, he probably got escorted out, right?
Yeah,
I'm like,
security, absolutely.
Because I'm like, if he's leaving, how does there no switcheroo happen where he's like, I'll sell you this for $2 million, but and he seems like a legit guy. Probably didn't have that intention, but I'm just saying, hypothetically, we're in the memorabilia industry. A lot of things happen. Like, how do we prove that ball that he caught was the same exact ball that Aaron Judge hit?
I'm sure Fanatics was going like, hey, memorabilia is the thing, because look at what's about to happen with Aaron Judge. And they're absolutely right. Like, I think that's another thing that I think getting caught up at the sports card world, we forget that maybe not forget, that's maybe not the right word, but sometimes we can take for granted that stuff, like game use stuff, like balls and bats and footballs and gloves and jerseys, like, that's the stuff that people like look at, like, wow, that was actually worn in Joe Namath's final game or something like that. I think that's the stuff that to a mainstream audience really kind of is an eye-popping, like, wow, that's a showstopper.
But you know what? The hard part of memorabilia is always go back to the fact that you have to have a place to show it off, right? So it's a little bit less accessible for somebody that's maybe, like, especially living out here, you live in a condo or something, you don't have a lot of wall space. I mean, my wife wouldn't let me put any memorabilia up in my house. I'd have to have a special room for it, and, so it's easier to show somebody a card put away in a box than it is to hang up a jersey somewhere.